There are mysteries so old that they turn history inside out. Tonight we step into one of those mysteries. A story that doesn't begin in Egypt, but much earlier, at the edge of myth itself. A story that says the Great Pyramid was not built in 2600 BCE, but more than 30,000 years earlier. That it was not the tomb of a pharaoh, but the gateway to another world. And at its heart lies a set of objects almost too strange to describe. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, indestructible plates carved in a language that vibrates like sound, said to hold the blueprint of reality. Welcome to Secret Origins. Tonight, we're opening the vault on a mystery that links Atlantis, Egypt, the Mayans, and even our own consciousness. Stay with me. And if you haven't already, subscribe right now so you don't miss what comes after. Because this is only the beginning. The history books tell us that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built around 2600 BCE under Pharaoh Khufu, or Cheops. A grand tomb aligned with the stars, a monument to a single ruler's glory. That's the version school children memorize and archaeologists repeat. But the pyramid has always been a problem for historians. For one, no body has ever been found inside it. No funerary inscriptions, no sarcophagus with remains, no lavish grave goods. Nothing that would make sense if this truly was a tomb. What archaeologists did find was something more puzzling: shafts aligned with Orion's belt and Sirius. Stonework so precise it defies explanation, and a level of engineering that we struggle to replicate even today. Already, the official story wobbles. But the Emerald Tablet tradition detonates it completely. Because according to these ancient records, the pyramid was never a tomb. It was built as a portal, the entryway to the halls of Amenti, the underworld of the gods. At the center of this story stands one figure: Thoth. You've heard his name in Egyptian myth, the ibis-headed scribe, the god of wisdom, writing, and time. But the Emerald Tablets don't describe a myth. They describe a man, an Atlantean king who escaped the fall of his homeland, who ruled in Egypt for 16,000 years, and who was no ordinary mortal. The texts claim Thoth could not taste death. When the time came to leave one body, he stepped into another. His consciousness could migrate like light between vessels. That is why, centuries later, he was still remembered as Hermes Trismegistus in Greece, the thrice great master, who taught alchemy, astrology, and the transmutation of mind itself. If that sounds like legend, remember the myths of multiple civilizations agree. Atlantis, Egypt, Greece, all spoke of a single figure who preserved forbidden knowledge across the ages. But what about the tablets? What makes them so dangerous, so coveted? According to legend, Thoth left behind 12 emerald green plates fused together with golden hinges. They are not ordinary stone. They are said to be made of an alchemical substance that violates physical law, immune to decay, acid, fire, or corrosion. They cannot be destroyed, and on their surface is inscribed the Atlantean language, a script whose letters are more than symbols. They are thought, forms, waves of consciousness, frequencies that bypass the rational mind and implant images directly into the soul of the reader. In other words, the tablets are not just records. They are technology. Whoever holds them, the legend says, receives the power of Thoth. When Thoth prepared to leave Egypt, he built the Great Pyramid not as a tomb, but as a vault. He placed the tablets inside, at the entrance to the halls of Amenti. There, guardians were appointed, priests of the highest order, whose task was to protect the knowledge until a future age. To the common people, the halls of Amenti were explained as the underworld, the place where souls were judged, but the texts tell a different story. The halls were portals, not tunnels to an afterlife, but gateways to other universes, planets, and dimensions. And the guardians, including figures later deified as Anubis, helped guide the souls through. Here the story bends into the strange. The Ankh, Egypt's symbol of eternal life, is said to represent not just eternity, but a waveform, a vibration splitting darkness from light, mapping the hidden sequence of events that shape reality. To read the Ankh correctly is to understand time as a portal, not a line. One passage in the tablets chills the spine, the prophecy that Thoth will return in flesh. Not as a ghost, not as a myth, but in a physical body when the time is right. In later centuries, the story goes, his essence incarnated again and again. That is how Hermes emerged. Bringing back fragments of the wisdom in forms human societies could accept. The tablets themselves hint that even now, Thoth waits, immortal, patient, ready to step into history again. Imagine that a figure older than any civilization, walking unseen among us, carrying knowledge that bends reality. A teacher or a judge. The story of the tablets does not end in Egypt. Around 13,000 BCE, chaos shook ancient Egypt. Priests scattered, carrying fragments of the knowledge with them. Some, the legends say, traveled west. They reached South America, and there, among the Maya, the tablets surfaced again. In the 10th century, they were said to be placed under the altar of a temple to the sun god. The Mayan priests recognized their power instantly. This is where things get uncanny. The Mayan calendar, their obsession with cycles of time, their architecture aligned with stars. Do these echo the teachings carried from the Atlantean emerald tablets? Were the pyramids of Mesoamerica cousins of the pyramids of Giza, connected by a single stream of forbidden knowledge? And yet, not all of the tablets were made public. According to the lore, 2 of the plates were sealed, forbidden even to the guardians themselves. Their contents were so dangerous, so far-reaching, that they could not be released to the world until humanity was ready. What secrets do they contain? Portals to other realities. Instructions for bending matter with mind. The ability to transfer consciousness between bodies, as Thoth himself was said to do. We don't know. But the legends agree those last tablets are hidden, awaiting the age when seekers are strong enough and wise enough to handle them. Skeptics will say this is mythology, allegory, just stories woven by priests to make sense of death. But the persistence of the tablets in multiple cultures, the echoes in Mayan temples, Greek Hermeticism, even alchemical manuscripts of the Middle Ages, suggest something more. At the very least, the tablets embody a stream of knowledge that survived catastrophes and migrations, reappearing again and again in human history. At most, They are exactly what the legends claim, artifacts of a civilization far older and far wiser than our own, waiting for us to catch up. And if that's true, then history itself is a coded message, and we are only now beginning to learn the language. In the last block, we uncovered the shocking claim that the Great Pyramid was not the tomb of a pharaoh, but the gateway to the halls of Amenti, and that inside it, Thoth, the Atlantean king who could not die, left behind the indestructible emerald tablets. Tonight we take a step further. What are these tablets made of? What language could possibly alter the consciousness of the one who reads it? And why does their message echo in civilizations thousands of years apart? The tablets are said to be 12 in number, though some accounts mention 10. Perhaps because the last 2 were sealed from human eyes. Each is crafted from a substance not found in nature, described as an alchemical emerald, radiant and indestructible. This emerald is not the gem we find in jewelry boxes. It is a fusion, a crystalline alloy created through knowledge we no longer possess, knowledge that bends the ordinary laws of physics. Legends insist the plates are immune to time. They cannot rust, they cannot shatter, and they cannot corrode. Fire cannot burn them, water cannot erode them, acid cannot stain them. In this sense, they are not objects of history, but anchors of eternity. Wherever they are placed, they endure, not just physically, but metaphysically, vibrating with a frequency that endures even when civilizations crumble around them. Attached with rings of gold alloy, suspended from a lever, so that they can be turned like the pages of a cosmic book, the tablets were designed for ritual reading. They were not meant to be tucked into a library. They were meant to be activated. If the material defies explanation, the inscriptions confound it even more. On each tablet are carved the letters of the Atlantean tongue, a language no archaeologist has ever cataloged, but which the stories describe in detail. Each character is not just a symbol, but a waveform. Imagine letters that are not read but felt, each one pulsing with frequency, each one designed to bypass belief and strike directly into the subconscious mind. Priests trained for decades to interpret these symbols. But here's the strange part. The tradition insists that even an untrained reader cannot walk away unchanged. The Atlantean language is self-activating. The moment the eyes fall on the letters, images and ideas bloom inside the mind. Visions of stars, memories of civilizations, an expansion of thought. This is why the tablets are sometimes called the voice of the gods. They do not instruct through arguments or stories. They rearrange the soul of the one who reads them. Modern science has begun, timidly, to explore the role of consciousness in shaping reality. Experiments in quantum mechanics that show observation affects outcome. But the emerald tablets spoke of this thousands of years ago. They describe thought not as a byproduct of matter, but as the architect of matter itself. This is where Thoth earns his name. He is not simply a god of writing, he is the god of thought and time. His emerald tablets insist that our world is woven of patterns, zeros and ones, vibrations and frequencies, long before computers gave us the same metaphor. The tablets describe consciousness as the ultimate technology, the software that programs the hardware of the cosmos. Imagine what happens if a civilization masters this knowledge. They no longer build with stone and timber. They build with thought. They no longer measure time with sundials. They weave time itself into cycles. They do not pray to gods. They learn to act like them. The story grows stranger still. Whoever carries the tablets, the legend says, also carries the power of Thoth. Not metaphorical wisdom, but literal resonance. The tablets are talismans, objects of power that influence the one who bears them. When chaos struck Egypt around 13,000 BCE and priests fled with the tablets, they carried more than sacred relics. They carried active instruments of transformation. And when they reached the Americas, Mayan priests recognized the resonance immediately. It was not about belief. It was about vibration. Whoever possessed the tablets possessed a piece of the cosmic architecture. This raises an uncomfortable possibility. Were the great leaps of human history not the product of slow evolution, but of sudden contact with these indestructible fragments of Atlantean knowledge? Did the tablets act as the accelerators of culture? Jump, starting astronomy, architecture, and the mathematics of time wherever they surfaced. As centuries passed, Thoth did not vanish. According to the lore, his essence migrated. The Egyptian god of wisdom reappears in Greece as Hermes Trismegistus. Hermes the thrice great. To the Greeks, he was the source of Hermetic philosophy, the fountainhead of alchemy, the one who spoke of mental transmutation and the principle that, as above, so below. But if we read the line backwards, Hermes is not a new god. He is the continuation of Thoth, the same immortal consciousness reincarnating, adapting to new cultures, carrying fragments of the emerald knowledge in a form people could accept. This explains why the Hermetic texts and the emerald tablets echo one another. Both describe reality as vibration. Both teach that the mind can alter matter. Both insist that time is a cycle, not a line. It is the same doctrine, carried under different names, adapted for new ages. The seal of silence, yet even with all this wisdom, some of the tablets were sealed away. The last two were forbidden. Priests swore oaths not to read them, not even to touch them. The danger was too great. What knowledge could be so devastating that even immortals would hide it? Instructions for transferring consciousness into other bodies. Maps of portals to other star systems. The keys to collapse matter into energy, or to bend time itself. We cannot know, but the pattern is familiar in every tradition. The most powerful knowledge is withheld. The Book of Enoch was hidden from the Bible. The Dead Sea Scrolls lay sealed in caves. The Gnostic Gospels were buried in jars. Always, humanity is told, "You are not ready." Which raises a question. Are we ready now? Perhaps the tablets are not lost. Some say fragments rest beneath Mayan temples, still humming with vibration. Others insist the Great Pyramid itself still conceals the originals, locked in a chamber yet undiscovered. A few go further, claiming the tablets were never buried at all, but hidden in plain sight, their symbols encoded into architecture, music, even the patterns of DNA. One thing is certain, the legend refuses to die. Across cultures and centuries, The emerald tablets reappear like whispers of an ancient chorus, reminding us that knowledge is older, deeper, and stranger than we think. And as you listen to this, ask yourself if a set of indestructible plates exists, capable of reprogramming thought, what would it mean for our world? Who would guard them? Who would dare use them? And who would try to silence them forever? If you want to keep unlocking these mysteries, the tablets, the halls of Amenti, and the hidden knowledge that links Atlantis to Egypt to the Mayans, then subscribe now to Mystery Vault. Every episode takes you one layer deeper into the forbidden history they never wanted you to see. Because next, we'll step into the halls themselves, the place the ancients called the underworld, but which the tablets describe as portals between worlds. And once you hear what they say waits on the other side, you'll never look at Egypt the same way again. In the last block, we uncovered how the emerald tablets themselves function like living technology. Indestructible plates inscribed with thought, forms, carrying the power of thought across civilizations. But to understand their true context, we must journey into the place where they were hidden. The ancients called it the Halls of Amenti. Scholars translate that as the underworld, a place of shadows where the dead were judged. But the emerald tablets suggest something altogether different, a system of portals, gateways between worlds, guarded by entities that were not human. In ordinary Egyptian religion, the soul of the dead passed through the Duat, a perilous underworld ruled by Osiris, where hearts were weighed against the feather of Ma'at. If the heart was heavy with sin, it was devoured by Ammit, the crocodile-headed beast. If it was pure, the soul entered paradise. That is the view repeated in museum exhibits and textbooks. But the tablets insist this was only the public story, the myth given to common people. The true initiate knew that the halls of Amenti were not a metaphor for morality, but a literal structure beneath the earth, older than the pyramids themselves. According to the tablets, the halls were built, or perhaps uncovered, by Thoth himself. They were not caverns of the dead, but doorways. Each hall led to a different universe, a different plane of existence. To pass through was not to die, but to translate, to teleport, to shift dimensions. This changes everything. If the halls are real, then the Great Pyramid was not just an earthly monument. It was the marker of a multidimensional hub, an ancient spaceport for consciousness itself. Death rituals were simply an echo of this greater truth. The soul was not weighed in judgment, but guided through the proper gate. But if such portals existed, who controlled them? The tablets say that Thoth appointed guardians from among his highest initiates. These were beings who had transcended ordinary human form, clothed in radiance and power, later remembered in Egyptian myth as gods. We picture Anubis as the jackal-headed god of embalming, weighing the hearts of the dead. But the tablets paint him differently. Anubis was not a mere psychopomp. He was a gatekeeper, ensuring that only those properly prepared could pass through the portal. His jackal form was not decorative symbolism, but a warning. He could sniff out deception, strip away illusion, and expose the true vibration of the soul. To the uninitiated, Anubis was terrifying. To the initiate, he was a guide. And this is the key. The underworld was not about punishment, but about navigation. Nowhere is this clearer than in the Ankh, the most famous symbol of Egypt. To tourists, it is simply the key of life. To scholars, it is eternal existence. But the tablets describe it as something much more precise, a waveform map. The loop represents the eternal cycle of time, the vertical stem the axis of spirit, the crossbar the plane of matter. Together they form not just a picture, but a frequency diagram separating light from darkness, order from chaos. The Ankh was not jewelry. It was a key to the portals of Amenti, a handheld reminder of the cosmic architecture. Imagine carrying an Ankh not as an ornament, but as a literal passcode, a symbol whose shape and vibration allowed you to resonate with the correct gateway. This, the tablets say, was its original use. Of course, passing through a portal was not easy. The halls of Amenti were places of testing. The emerald tablets describe a sequence of chambers where souls confronted illusions, shadows of their own fears, echoes of their own desires. To move forward required balance, harmony with cosmic law. This is why later Egyptian religion emphasized Ma'at, the feather of truth. It was not merely a metaphorical weighing of morality. It was an energetic calibration. Only the soul, whose vibration matched the harmony of the cosmos, could pass through without disintegration. It is here that we glimpse the terrifying side of the story. The unworthy did not go to paradise. They were burned out of existence, dissolved in the fire of cosmic order. Not punishment, but physics. Guarding this knowledge was the priesthood of Thoth. These were not ordinary scribes or temple servants. They were initiates trained to move between worlds. They studied vibration, geometry, star alignments. They memorized the Atlantean language. They meditated for decades until their souls could hold steady in the resonance of the gates. Their task was to protect humanity from knowledge it was not ready for. They became the keepers of secrets, the prototypes of mystery schools, the ancestors of what we would later call hermetic societies. Their oaths were severe: to guard the forbidden tablets, to preserve the rituals, and to reveal them only when the cycle of time demanded it. Perhaps the most shocking claim of all is that the halls contained not just portals for the dead, but chambers of regeneration. Thoth himself is said to have placed his body within a sarcophagus of crystal beneath the pyramid, entering into cycles of death and rebirth while his consciousness traveled freely. In this way, he achieved what the tablets call immortality in flesh. He could step back into his body, rejuvenated, even after centuries. When the Greeks later, said Hermes, Trismegistus had lived through countless ages, they may have been remembering this Atlantean technique of bodily preservation and consciousness transfer. If true, then the halls of Amenti are not a metaphor for life after death. They are a laboratory of life, extension, a place where immortality itself was engineered. When you stand before the Great Pyramid today, you see a mountain of stone. But according to the tablets, you are also standing at the threshold of a dimensional engine, its secrets sealed by guardians and symbols. Archaeologists search for hidden chambers with ground-penetrating radar. Tourists snap photographs in the king's chamber. But beneath, perhaps thousands of feet deeper, the halls still hum with portals. Locked, waiting, watching. And here's the chilling thought: if they are real, then they are not empty. Someone or something still guards them. In the next part of this journey, we'll follow the tablets as they leave Egypt and resurface in Mesoamerica. We'll see how Mayan priests became custodians of Atlantean wisdom, how the tablets influenced their calendar, their temples, and their vision of time itself. And we'll ask, did the Mayan obsession with cycles come directly from the Emerald Tablets? If you want to see how Egypt and the Americas may be linked by a single stream of forbidden knowledge, then make sure you subscribe now to Mystery Vault. Each episode weaves the hidden threads together, from Enoch to Thoth, from the Watchers to the Atlanteans, into a tapestry they never wanted you to see. Because the Emerald Tablets are not just Egypt's secret, they are humanity's secret. And the next chapter takes us across the ocean, when the chaos of Egypt threatened to erase the Atlantean legacy. A chosen circle of priests carried the tablets with them. Legends trace their steps across the sea, through storms and wilderness, until they reached the lands we now call the Americas. There they found another race eager to learn, and in time, the Mayan civilization became the new custodians of the Emerald Wisdom. If this sounds impossible, remember, the Maya appeared almost out of nowhere with advanced calendars, architecture aligned to the stars, and rituals that seemed to mirror practices once performed on the banks of the Nile. How could two civilizations separated by oceans share the same obsessions unless they had inherited them from a common source? Among the Maya, the tablets were said to have been placed beneath an altar dedicated to the sun god, guarded with the same intensity that the priests of Thoth once maintained in Egypt. Their wisdom did not fade. It seeped into the culture like dye into water, influencing the way the Maya thought about time, death, and the destiny of humankind. The obsession with cycles, the endless turning of ages. The idea that time itself repeats like the breath of the universe. All of it resonates with the teachings of the tablets. Even the Mayan calendar, capable of predicting astronomical events with uncanny precision, looks like the distant echo of Atlantean mathematics. What makes this even more compelling is the physical evidence left behind. The pyramids of the Yucatan, like Chichen Itza, rise in forms astonishingly similar to those of Egypt. Their steps are aligned with celestial markers. Their temples are built to capture shadows and light at equinoxes, creating serpent-like figures that slither across the stone. Was this mere coincidence, or was it the continuation of a sacred science carried across the sea? Some researchers argue the latter, pointing to glyphs that suggest the Maya inherited fragments of wisdom not born in their soil. And when we remember that the Emerald Tablets themselves were said to be talismans radiating thought, the idea of them shaping an entire culture becomes less far-fetched. The priests of the Maya, who came into contact with the tablets, were not ordinary men. They were initiates, chosen to interpret and guard the resonance of the emerald plates. The tablets were not merely objects of worship, they were instruments. Reading them brought visions, understanding, and in some cases madness. Legends whisper that those unworthy to touch them lost their minds, their thoughts shattered by the frequency of the Atlantean language. But those who endured became living vessels of Thoth's wisdom. These men guided the civilization with a focus on astronomy, cycles of time, and rituals of rebirth. They believed that to live was to echo the heavens, and to die was to pass through portals into another rhythm of existence. It is here that we must pause and ask the forbidden question. If the emerald tablets truly made their way into the hands of the Maya, could this explain the sudden disappearance of their cities? Entire urban centers were abandoned, swallowed by jungle, their people scattered. Historians blame drought, famine, and war, but what if something deeper occurred? What if the priests of the tablets opened a portal in imitation of Thoth himself, and led their chosen followers through it, leaving behind only empty stone shells for archaeologists to ponder? Could the so-called collapse of the Maya be a migration not across land, but across dimensions? Think about this. The Maya were not the only people in the Americas with pyramids and cosmic calendars. The Olmecs, the Toltecs, and later the Aztecs all displayed uncanny echoes of the same architectural genius and obsession with celestial cycles. Perhaps fragments of the tablets' influence spread far wider than we imagine, shaping the cultural DNA of entire continents. It would not be the first time knowledge seated in one place resurfaced in another under different names. In Egypt, the ibis-headed scribe. In Greece, Hermes Trismegistus. In the Yucatan, the sun priests. Always the same wisdom, always the same pattern. Skeptics, of course, dismiss these connections as fantasy. They argue that pyramids are a natural architectural solution, that calendars arise from simple sky watching. But when one civilization after another repeats, not just the form, but the symbolism, the rituals, the mathematical cycles, it strains coincidence. And when we remember the tablets, teaching that thought itself shapes matter, the resonance begins to look less like cultural borrowing and more like a global field effect. The presence of the tablets in one corner of the world might ripple across oceans, inspiring builders, priests, and kings without direct contact. Consciousness, after all, is not bound by geography. Imagine for a moment standing at Chichen Itza during the equinox. The serpent of light slithers down the steps, and the priests chant prayers to the sun. Behind the ritual, hidden from ordinary eyes, lies a deeper secret: emerald plates buried beneath the altar, radiating vibrations that tune the minds of those present. The entire ceremony becomes not just worship, but synchronization, an attempt to bring human thought into harmony with cosmic law. In that light, the Maya were not simply a vanished people. They were a civilization aligned to the frequency of the Atlantean tablets, carrying forward Thoth's legacy under the burning sun of the New World. But the story does not end here. For even among the Maya, whispers persisted that not all of the tablets were revealed. Some were sealed, just as in Egypt. Others were hidden beneath stone, waiting for a future age. And just like in Egypt, legends of forbidden chambers and secret vaults followed the tablets wherever they went. We are left with a puzzle. Are the tablets still buried beneath the jungles of Central America, humming in silence? Or were they carried further still, hidden once again by priests who feared humanity's misuse of their power? Before we move deeper into this mystery, take a moment to reflect. If you've been following this far, you already know how carefully this story has been hidden from the mainstream. It threads through civilizations like a whisper of memory, leaving monuments we can see, but meaning we are forbidden to admit. This is exactly the kind of story we follow here, and if you want to keep opening these vaults with me, subscribe now to Mystery Vault, because in the next part, we return to the tablets themselves, their symbols, their vibrations, and the shocking claim that the Atlantean alphabet is not just language, but pure consciousness encoded in stone. The emerald tablets are not remembered for their appearance, but for their inscriptions. To the untrained eye, they would look like a sequence of strange glyphs, unfamiliar yet somehow magnetic. To initiates, these glyphs were nothing less than codes of consciousness. The Atlantean alphabet, if we can call it that, was not a symbolic system like ours. Each letter was designed as a wave, a pulse, a packet of vibration that imprinted itself directly onto the soul. Imagine reading not with your eyes, but with your whole being. The moment your gaze touches the symbols, you are altered. Thoughts expand. Visions ignite. Understanding floods in without translation. That is what the priests claimed when they spoke of the tablets. This is why the language of the tablets was described as self-activating. Belief was irrelevant. Whether skeptic or devotee, anyone who looked upon the emerald letters would feel their impact. The inscriptions bypassed doubt and reason. They spoke directly to the unconscious, the part of the human mind that still remembers it is not bound to flesh. The Atlantean glyphs were the keys that opened that memory. Some called them thought forms. Others described them as living frequencies trapped in stone. Whatever the phrase, the meaning is clear. The tablets are not texts. They are technology. The stories say that those who read the tablets experienced visions of stars, glimpses of ancient civilizations, even memories of lives they had never lived. The images appeared in the mind as if projected by some hidden mechanism, but the priests insisted it was not a projection at all. It was memory. The tablets did not show new things. They reawakened the knowledge already hidden within the human soul. Knowledge of origins. Knowledge of destiny. Knowledge of the laws that bind spirit and matter together. It was for this reason that unworthy readers were warned to keep away. To gaze upon the Atlantean glyphs without preparation was to risk madness. The untrained mind, bombarded by visions it could not interpret, shattered under the weight of cosmic memory. This was not myth. This was cause and effect. Consciousness is a fragile instrument. Expose it to infinite frequencies, and it breaks. Only those purified by ritual, meditation, and initiation could withstand the resonance. For others, the tablets were lethal. This detail explains why the tablets were always guarded by a chosen priesthood. not because the plates needed physical protection. They were indestructible, but because humanity needed to be protected from them. The priests were less guardians of objects and more guardians of timing. They alone decided when and to whom fragments of the wisdom would be revealed. When the world was not ready, the tablets remained silent. When the cycles aligned, a passage would be opened, and humanity would receive a taste of Atlantean law. But the most disturbing passage in the lore is the one that speaks not of human readers, but of Thoth himself. The Emerald Tablets contain a prophecy that their creator will return, not as spirit, not as memory, but as flesh. Thoth, the immortal architect, promises to step once more into a material body when the cycle demands it. Think about that. An Atlantean king who reigned for 16,000 years, who refused death, who migrated across civilizations under new names, declaring that one day he will come back, not as myth, but as man. Legends insist he already has, many times. To the Egyptians, he was Thoth, the ibis, headed god of wisdom. To the Greeks, he reappeared as Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great master who seeded the Hermetic tradition. Each incarnation carried fragments of the emerald knowledge, tailored to the age that received it. In every case, he was remembered as a teacher of hidden sciences, astrology, alchemy, sacred geometry, the art of transforming thought into reality. Always the same wisdom, always the same figure, wearing different masks. And here is the chilling part. The tablets claim that when the next cycle turns, Thoth will not reincarnate in fragments. He will return in full, flesh and thought combined, walking the earth again. What would that mean for us? Would it be salvation, a teacher returning to guide a fractured species? Or would it be judgment, the architect reclaiming his creation? The prophecy leaves this unclear. It is both promise and warning. Those who study the Hermetic writings recognize the echo, as above, so below, as within, so without. These phrases, often quoted in esoteric circles, are watered-down versions of what the tablets teach directly. Reality is a reflection of mind. Time is not linear, but cyclical. Consciousness is not bound to the body, but flows through it like current through a vessel. When Thoth returns, he will not bring new laws. He will remind us of the ones already written into the fabric of the universe. Laws we have forgotten or ignored. Consider the implications. If the tablets are real, if the inscriptions are indeed frequency codes, then modern science has been circling their truth without naming it. Quantum physics already hints that observation shapes reality, that particles exist in multiple states until measured. The tablets simply take this to its extreme. Thought is the fundamental force, the architect of matter. Thoth did not just write philosophy. He engraved the very operating system of the cosmos into indestructible stone. This is why the priests warned that the last two tablets must remain sealed. If the inscriptions already known can open visions and awaken hidden memory, then what could the forbidden plates contain? Instructions for bending time, the method for transferring consciousness between bodies, the map of portals across the stars, knowledge so powerful it could unmake the balance of the world if misused. Perhaps that is why they were sealed, not lost, waiting. sleeping until humanity has grown wise enough, or desperate enough, to face them. And if the prophecy is true, Thoth himself will be the one to decide when that time arrives. Imagine him walking among us, hidden in plain sight, carrying within him the memory of Atlantis, Egypt, Greece, and beyond. Imagine him testing us, watching to see whether we are ready for the last tablets. The thought alone is enough to shake the ground beneath history. Before we move into the next stage of this story, the Forbidden Chambers, the Mayan prophecies, and the possibility that fragments of the tablets still hum beneath the jungles. Pause and reflect. We are dealing with more than myth. We are dealing with a current of knowledge that refuses to die, carried through time by immortals and preserved in stone. And here on Mystery Vault, we will keep opening these forbidden pages one by one. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. The next chapter will take us into the shadows of secrecy itself, where the tablets were hidden, sealed, and protected by priests who understood their danger better than anyone. The Emerald Tablets did not vanish with Thoth's departure. The priests who swore their lives to him carried the burden of guardianship, generation after generation, keeping the plates hidden while civilizations rose and fell. To the ordinary people, they told myths of gods and underworlds. To initiates, they whispered fragments of the truth. The tablets were never lost, only concealed, because to reveal them without preparation would have been catastrophic. Those who knew their power understood that humanity had to grow into their wisdom slowly, like a child learning to walk before it can run. This guardianship gave rise to the first mystery schools. Egypt itself became the prototype, training initiates in astronomy, geometry, medicine, and the art of balancing thought. To the public, these schools appeared as temples. To the insiders, they were laboratories of consciousness, places where men and women were tested not on belief, but on their ability to hold the vibration of truth. Passing these tests was the only way to come near the tablets. The priests believed that wisdom given too early turned into destruction, but wisdom revealed in stages became salvation. The secrecy spread beyond Egypt. When Greece rose, the figure of Hermes Trismegistus emerged, and with him, Hermetic philosophy. In smoky halls and hidden chambers, initiates studied texts said to be echoes of the Emerald Tablets. These writings spoke of transmutation, of turning base matter into gold. But the wise knew this was only a metaphor. The true gold was consciousness refined, base thought lifted into divine clarity. Alchemists of the Middle Ages searched for the philosopher's stone, unaware that the Emerald Tablets had described the principle long before mind transforms matter, spirit directs flesh, and vibration alters reality. Across centuries, this Hermetic stream nourished secret societies. The Knights Templar, the Rosicrucians, and later the Freemasons all claimed fragments of the wisdom, symbols carved into their lodges. Compasses, squares, all-seeing eyes, were not random but derived from Atlantean geometry, the sacred architecture embedded in the tablets. To them, secrecy was survival. Openly teaching such truths would have drawn persecution or worse. So the knowledge moved underground, encoded in symbols, cloaked in allegory, whispered in initiation rites. Why such fear? Because the knowledge of the tablets was not passive. It was power. Whoever could wield the laws of thought and vibration could reshape reality, influence kings, even steer the course of nations. Legends say that some guardians used fragments of the wisdom to build influence in courts, while others swore never to misuse it. The tension between secrecy and revelation, power and restraint, has haunted the tablets ever since. Humanity was not trusted with the whole truth, yet the thirst for it never died. It is striking how often the emerald tablets reappear at turning points in history. During the Renaissance, translations of Hermetic texts sparked revolutions in art, science, and philosophy. Scholars like Ficino and Bruno spoke of a universe alive with spirit, echoing Thoth's claim that thought is the architect of matter. The Church branded them heretics, but their ideas seeded the modern worldview. In their words, we hear whispers of the Atlantean voice carried across millennia. Even in modern times, echoes remain. The phrase, "as above, so below," surfaces in New Age circles. Alchemists' search for transmutation lives on in laboratories splitting atoms. Scientists studying consciousness and quantum mechanics unknowingly tread ground first described in emerald glyphs. The tablet's prophecy of a return feels less like a myth and more like a reminder that the cycle is still turning. The guardianship has not ended. It has simply changed form. The question then becomes, where are the tablets now? Some traditions insist they remain buried beneath the Great Pyramid, sealed in a hidden chamber beyond the reach of archaeologists. Others claim they lie in the Yucatan, under an altar of the sun. A few go further, suggesting the priests disperse them, each plate hidden in a different corner of the world, ensuring that no one power could hold them all. If this is true, then the tablets may not be relics of the past, but active instruments still resonating today, waiting for discovery. The fear, of course, is what would happen if they fell into the wrong hands. Knowledge that can rearrange consciousness is not neutral. In the right hands, it liberates. In the wrong hands, it enslaves. The priests of Thoth believed this so strongly that they created entire systems of secrecy, just to guard against it. And yet, secrecy breeds hunger. The more forbidden the knowledge, the more humanity desires it. Perhaps that is why the tablets continue to call across time, their legend stronger now than ever. It is worth remembering that the emerald tablets are not alone. They are part of a pattern. The Book of Enoch, sealed away from Scripture. The Dead Sea Scrolls, hidden in caves for millennia. The Nag Hammadi Library, buried in jars. Always, humanity hides its most dangerous knowledge, only for fragments to resurface when the time is ripe. The emerald tablets fit this same rhythm. Hidden, revealed, hidden again, each cycle bringing them closer to rediscovery. So where does that leave us? We live in an age when secrecy is breaking down, when knowledge spreads in seconds across the world. If the tablets are real, if they are still hidden, then perhaps we are approaching the moment the priests feared most. The moment when the wisdom cannot be controlled, when it spills into the open for all to see. Will we be ready for it, or will we misuse it as Azazel's students once misused forbidden arts? That is the question the tablets force us to confront. If you've been following Mystery Vault, you know this is the thread we'd always pursue. Hidden knowledge, forbidden texts, truths buried under stone and secrecy. The Emerald Tablets are perhaps the greatest of them all. And in the next block, we reach the final chapter of this saga. The afterlife of the tablets, the myths of their ultimate purpose, and the challenge they present to us today. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Join Mystery Vault, because what comes next will change the way you think about life, death, and reality itself. The Emerald Tablets are not just relics of the past. They are promises written in indestructible stone. Their very existence challenges everything we believe about history, science, and the limits of human life. If even a fragment of their legend is true, then humanity is standing at the threshold of something extraordinary or catastrophic. For in the tablets, one claim repeats again and again: Thoth will return. What does that mean? If Thoth was not a man, but an Atlantean master who could transfer his consciousness from one body to another, then return does not mean resurrection in the way religions describe. It means reappearance, incarnation, continuity. The same mind that ruled Egypt for 16,000 years, that migrated into Hermes, that whispered through the Hermetic tradition, could step into the modern world, clothed in flesh once more. We would not recognize him immediately. He would look like one of us. But behind the eyes would be the memory of Atlantis, of Egypt, of every civilization since. The question is not whether Thoth can return. If the tablets are true, he never left. The real question is whether we would be ready to meet him. Humanity today wields nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, and genetic engineering, but our wisdom has not grown in equal measure. Would Thoth see us as worthy inheritors of Atlantean law, or as children still playing with fire? The sealed tablets, forbidden to humanity for thousands of years, suggest the latter. The guardians who hid them feared our misuse more than our ignorance. And yet, the cycle turns. Modern science now echoes truths the tablets proclaimed long ago. Quantum physics teaches that particles exist in multiple states until observed, just as the tablets taught that thought shapes matter. Neuroscience hints that consciousness may not be produced by the brain, but filtered through it, just as the Atlantean glyphs imply. Even our digital technology, zeros and ones, vibration and frequency, looks like a pale imitation of the cosmic architecture Thoth described. Without realizing it, we are rediscovering fragments of the Emerald wisdom through our machines and equations. Some researchers even suggest that the tablets may still be influencing us. Hidden beneath stone, humming in silence, their resonance could be shaping ideas, dreams, and discoveries without our awareness. Perhaps every leap of human progress, from the invention of writing to the age of space travel, is not random but part of a long, deliberate unfolding. If so, then we are not inventing the future. We are remembering it, piece by piece, from codes inscribed long before our species began. This raises a chilling possibility. What if the Emerald Tablets are not passive at all, but active? What if they are not waiting for us, but guiding us, nudging us toward the moment when we can finally face them directly. If that is true, then we may already be caught in their cycle, part of a story written 36,000 years ago. Our wars, our breakthroughs, our collapses, all ripples of a design greater than we imagine. The prophecy of return, then, is not just about Thoth. It is about us. His reappearance in flesh may not be the arrival of an individual, but the awakening of a species. Humanity itself may be the vessel into which Thoth pours his consciousness. The wisdom once carried by one king, one priest, one scribe, could now be distributed across billions of minds, each of us remembering fragments of the Atlantean law. When enough of us awaken, the cycle completes. Thoth does not return to us. We return to him. But the danger is just as great as the promise. For knowledge without wisdom is poison. The Book of Enoch warned of this when it described Azazel teaching metallurgy and war to early humanity. The Emerald Tablets echo the same warning. The Guardians sealed the most dangerous plates because humanity was not ready. And perhaps we still are not. If the final tablets were unsealed today, in a world torn by division and greed, they could unleash powers that destroy us. The priests knew this. That is why they chose silence. And yet, silence cannot last forever. Every cycle ends. Every seal breaks. The Emerald Tablets have waded through floods, plagues, and the rise and fall of empires. They will not wait forever. One day, whether by discovery, prophecy, or necessity, they will surface again. And when they do, humanity will be tested. Will we use their wisdom to heal the planet, to open the portals of Amenti, to step into our true cosmic inheritance? Or will we repeat the mistake of the Watchers, turning forbidden arts into weapons, dragging ourselves into another age of ruin? The answer depends on us. So here we are, at the threshold. The Great Pyramid stands in silence, its secrets sealed. The jungles of the Yucatan whisper of hidden chambers. Scholars argue. Skeptics scoff. Believers wait. And the tablets themselves, indestructible, immortal, remain where they have always been, humming in the dark, patient, waiting for the cycle to turn. That is why we tell these stories here on Mystery Vault. Not to give you answers, but to open the doors of curiosity, to remind you that history is deeper, stranger, and more alive than textbooks dare admit. If the Emerald Tablets are real, then reality itself is a mystery still unfolding. If they are myth, then they are the most powerful myth humanity has ever created, one that continues to shape our consciousness even now. Either way, they matter. And so, we leave you with this thought. What if Thoth has already returned? What if he walks among us, hidden behind ordinary eyes, watching to see whether we are ready? Would you recognize him? Would you understand the tests he places before you? Or would you dismiss them as coincidence, never realizing that the Atlantean king has been here all along? Perhaps that is the final secret of the Emerald Tablets. They are not objects outside us, but codes inside us. Keys written into our very souls, waiting to be read. The true halls of Amenti may not lie beneath pyramids or jungles, but within the human mind. And when we learn to open them, we will find that Thoth never left, and the Emerald Tablets were never hidden. They were always here, inside us, humming with the vibration of thought and time. So keep seeking, keep questioning, keep opening the vault. Because the cycle is turning, the seals are breaking, and the ancient voice is calling once more. This has been another episode of Mystery Vault. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.